G'day there guys, uses the excuse at least he's not addicted to drugs here to justify his YouTube addiction, back at it again with another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now if you love this content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and have a good bloody time. Posted by user otherwise Garage6142. Titled, Am I the a-hole for going out and getting the same job as my husband to show him that it's not that hard? Would I be the a-hole if I fail? All my husband has done for the last 6 months is tramp about how hard his job is. I get it. It's physically demanding and a lot of walking, but it's only 3 days a week. A few days ago, I asked him to go for a walk with me, and he said he was too tired. He's too tired to do anything. I cook, clean, then go out and do Uber almost every day because his job is so hard. He can't be bothered to do anything. It caused a huge blowout, so I took a trip down to the job recruitment center and they signed me up right for his exact same job. It's a windmill factory. You go out and pick parts, load them on a cart, and take them inside. These parts can weigh anywhere from a few grams to 50 pounds. I came back home and told him the great news, that we were both making tons of money now, and he was super ticked. All he's done for the last few days is tell me, you're going to fail. It's going to be too hard for you. You're wasting your time. You're going to end up hurting your back again. He also told me I'm not supposed to tell anyone we're married because when you get fired and quit, I don't want that reflecting on me. I have a whole drawer full of back braces, compression socks, and muscle relaxers. I'll be fine. We both previously worked at Amazon. He was fired, I hurt my back being stupid and had to quit. And he also bitched constantly about that. He swears this job is 10 times harder, but I legit didn't think Amazon was hard at all. I was just dumb about picking stuff up. Am I the a-hole? Should I have just stayed in my place, cooking, cleaning, and doing side work? Would I be the a-hole if I fail? No, I don't think you're an a-hole for going and trying this job out, you know. I feel like as your husband, it's his job to be supportive of you no matter what you do. And by the way he's phrasing this right now, it's like he's setting you up to fail, which isn't a very cash money thing to do if I'm honest. Everyone does fail in life, and I don't think you'd be an a-hole if you failed. Although I think his concern comes from you're married and working together at the same place level, which, you know, some people can see as weird, and I understand that. Personally, I don't think you're an a-hole for this, but everyone has their opinions on it. Everyone sucks here. Your husband sounds like he's really good at making excuses, but at the end of the day, he can't use his job is hard as an excuse to shirk his responsibilities at home. You literally went out of your way and got a job to spite him. I get that it's frustrating, but at the end of the day, what do you really think you're going to prove constructively by doing this? You guys need to work on communication and actually supporting each other instead of trying to prove the other wrong. Everyone sucks here, but wife did a Chad move. Is OP an a-hole? Probably. Does she have big dick energy? Yes. Or bad bitch energy. I heard that's the female equivalent of big dick energy, though I feel big dick energy is gender neutral personally. Everyone sucks here. Y'all have a toxic marriage dynamic. You sound like rivals, not partners. You dismiss him, he dismisses you. You literally got a job just to prove he's whiny. What a spiteful motivation. He sounds miserable, but so do you. Yep, hate to sound corny, but you two are supposed to be partners in life. You're supposed to be supporting each other and taking care of each other. There is absolutely nothing corny about any of that though. True. Yep, this so much. Also, you simply can't compare suffering. A constructive step would have been to discuss how it bothers you that he continually talks about how hard his job is and if he can reduce it. Clearly, his level of acceptance of physical demand is different than yours. If that triggers you to a level where your marriage turns into being rivals, maybe look for a better matching partner. This will come up more often. Life includes suffering. Not the a-hole in my opinion. I find this fudging hilarious. He deserves to be shown up if it truly is like you say it is and you're busting your ass trying to pick up the slack. Maybe suggest he stay home to tidy and cook and do everything else instead. I mean, it is kind of a petty reason for getting the job, but time will tell if she's right or not and where to go from there. Some men, and some women, are just kind of lazy, and will use any excuse to not help at home. This comment section doesn't seem to think that's a possibility when it could be. If she ends up being wrong, then that'll just be a lesson learned for her. If she's right, then maybe it'll be a wake-up call for her partner to complain less or shift to another line of work. Agree, petty does not equal a-hole, not the a-hole. Also, it sounds like she tried talking to him about pulling his weight more and he refused to listen or compromise. I don't get all these people saying that they need to communicate better because it seems like OP definitely tried to do that. Communication takes two people in order to be successful. I think she's not the a-hole in this scenario because she didn't get the job with malicious intent. She was just at her wit's end with him using this job as an excuse to not contribute to household chores. He should have listened to her when she tried talking to him about it reasonably. ETA, I also work in a warehouse lifting heavy things, as a 130-pound woman, so probably a lot less physically strong than OP's husband. And yes, it's physically demanding, but not so much that I have no energy to do literally anything else. A lot of the people I work with have multiple other jobs as well. Sounds like hubby's attitude is the problem, and if the job is genuinely too much for him, maybe he should switch and drive Uber instead. Posted by user Snoo10465, titled, Am I the a-hole for giving my wife an ultimatum about getting a dog? I had a dog when my wife and I got married. I loved her, she was my buddy. When my wife got pregnant, she became increasingly paranoid that the dog would be a danger to the baby. She brought up rehoming and I refused. She was a quote-unquote aggressive breed, but she was trained. One day, she called me crying at work that the dog ran away and she couldn't run after her. I believed her, and I looked for that dog for weeks. I finally just accepted it because we had to go to the hospital to welcome our child, and there were just other pressing concerns. It's been 5 years since then, and we now have 3 children. I've wanted to get a new dog, but the kids take a lot of energy and time. My wife has always had a new excuse not to get another dog. I found out recently that my dog didn't run away. My wife and her father took the dog to the pound while I was at work because her parents agreed with her about the dog being dangerous. I'm furious. She was my dog, my baby. She wasn't dangerous. I would never have agreed to that. She probably never got adopted, and I'm honestly mad enough to consider a separation if not for the kids and practical reasons. I've told her that the only way to make it up even a little bit is for us to get a dog. She ultimately doesn't want a dog at all, and complained that she would have to do too much with it. I'm not planning to let up on this one this time. And the question stands, am I the a-hole for giving my wife an ultimatum about getting a dog? Given the entire context of this story, I don't blame you for giving your wife an ultimatum. Her and her father just went out and dumped the dog in a pound without telling you and then lied to you. She's married to you. You're not supposed to keep secrets in a marriage. That kind of defeats the point. If I were you, I would be very furious finding this news out, and I'm surprised that they leaked it to you. To me, I don't think that forcing a dog on the wife will solve any issues. I feel like it'll just make things worse, but it's what I would probably do if I was you. I'm not recommending it, it's not going to solve anything. I don't think you're an a-hole for giving the wife an ultimatum, but I really feel like this is one of those make or break situations. So unless you guys go to couples counseling, therapy or whatever to smooth this over, get her to apologize and come up with a deal and get her to stop being so crazy about a dog because she wasn't crazy about it before the baby, then you can save this. But this is one of those arguments that do break marriages by the sounds. But I don't think you're an a-hole. Not the a-hole. Get a dog after your divorce, dude. You said you looked for the dog for weeks, and I'm sure you were distraught while you searched for her. Your wife continued to watch you in pain, knowing she caused it and did nothing. She also disrespected you as a parent. She made a decision that something wasn't acceptable for your child to be around this dog, and you disagreed, but she decided she knew better than you. Also, F your in-laws. Let's ignore the dog for a moment. Your partner in life, your sickness and health, your love maliciously hurt you. At a minimum, she ripped something you loved from you and caused you deliberate and direct distress over a hypothetical risk. In likelihood, she murdered it. But at a minimum, she took it from you and lied to you about it. Not the a-hole. This is not okay, and it's not something someone does to someone they love. You would be the a-hole if you got another dog, because she clearly can't be trusted with them. You would be causing that creature potential harm. But honestly, get that divorce. If she's capable of doing this to you, can you really trust her? Her or the highway? Yeah, hit the highway. Makes me wonder what she'll be capable of during the divorce and child custody though, given how much she doesn't mind being cruel and cold-blooded. Not the a-hole. I can't believe she would go out of her way to make family plans to destroy your trust. I would never be with someone who disrespected me to that degree. Wow. Don't get a dog with this woman. She didn't care about getting rid of your dog before. What's to stop her from just doing the same thing again? Posted by user Branch Loans, titled, "Am I the a-hole for saying my wife wasn't my dream girl in a trivia game?" So, my wife and I have been doing a game night every so often with some other couples via Zoom since we can't go out and see people lately. We were playing this card game the other night that was like basically a trivia game for couples to play, and you're asked a question and you write down your answer and your partner has to guess what they think you answered. If they guess correctly, your team gets a point. Whichever couple knows each other the best wins. So, some of the questions in this version were a little spicy, and one of the questions was, who is your dream man/woman to have sex with? I wrote down my spin instructor, since my wife knows I think she's hot, and thought she'd guess her and we'd get a point. Well, screw me. Turns out every other husband either wrote down their wife or a celebrity/fictional character. My wife was livid and upset. I tried to explain I didn't actually want to do anything with my spin instructor, and I would never even briefly consider being unfaithful. It was just me trying to play the game. She doesn't believe me, saying everyone else's instinct was women who didn't exist, or better yet, their wives. I feel really bad, but also really confused. I don't know how to deal with this. Is she overreacting, or am I an a-hole? And no need to tell me about the Curb Your Enthusiasm episode. No, I hadn't seen it. Yes, I've seen it now. Almost every man there sent me references to it as soon as the video was off. I think it's pretty clear that he's an a-hole judging by the reactions there. You know, it's kind of not something you want to hear as a partner being like, oh, you want to screw them? You know, are you going to confirm that? That's really nice. God, that just makes me so happy that you want to screw that person and not me when we're in a marriage together. Thank you. These are just one of those thoughts you keep in your head and you don't ever express. You take that to the grave, OP. It's what you should have done here. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. Who humiliates their wife in front of friends? Oh, right. You do. I would strongly suggest you quit your spin class immediately and spend as much time and effort as it may take groveling to win back your wife's trust. Good grief, man. Honestly, OP is going to hear about this for ages, but if he doesn't quit that spin class ASAP, ooh boy, he just gave her a massive reason to worry about it, in addition to humiliating her in front of friends. OP, you're the a-hole buddy. Big oof. The obvious answer is OP's wife, but if he wanted to be funny, he should have said a famous dead person like Marilyn Monroe, Cleopatra, Marie Antoinette, etc., etc. And like, they don't even need to be dead. They just need to be people you don't personally know. You could say Scarlett Johansson and be fine with most people. You can't say someone that you could reasonably cheat on your wife with. My husband's is Uma Thurman. Mine is Vin Diesel. Also, my husband's oft-stated wish is that a Swedish bikini team move into any vacant apartment in our complex. Pure silliness, we both actually deeply love each other. You're the a-hole. Dream girl, i.e. someone you will literally never get the chance with, like a celebrity. You don't put down someone that you know in real life that you interface with on a regular basis. We were making our freebie list for fun, and my wife picked David Tennant, Idris Elba, and Brad Pitt. I picked my coworker, our next door neighbor, and my wife's sister, and that's when the fight started. Honestly though, even the concept of a freebie list is weird as hell to me. If you have an open relationship, then by all means have a long list. But if you're monogamous, that feels a bit weird to me. Do your thing. It might work for your relationship, but it's uncomfortable for me. I don't give a crap who shows up. I'm really not interested. I have too much going on with my wife. I don't have any interest in changing that. Posted by user Electronic Stomach 78, titled, Am I the a-hole for not letting my boyfriend correct a Chinese woman? We live in a shared house with a bunch of random Craigslist roommates. One of them is Chinese and was sitting at the kitchen table during lunchtime, slurping her noodles and minding her own business. My boyfriend had just come into the kitchen to eat his own lunch, and rather than ask her how her weekend was, or anything other polite conversation, he instead asks her, Can I teach you something about culture? I knew he was going to tell her that Americans consider it rude to slurp food. But this woman wasn't at a business event. She was in her own house, and in my opinion, can eat her own culture's food however she damn well pleases. Especially since she was just sitting alone by herself first, and we just happened to enter the same room after. So I cut my boyfriend off and said, Stop. He kept trying to talk to her. Don't say anything, I said again. He kept wanting to press the issue. Ignoring me, he said, I don't care, but Americans think it's rude to slurp your food. Jeff, stop it! Drop it! I said, as she looked highly embarrassed and quietly continued eating her meal. I apologized to her and said, I apologize for Jeff's comment. And he said, and I apologize for my girlfriend not letting me talk to you. I don't think it's Jeff's place to educate people who didn't ask for feedback and were just trying to be comfortable in their own home. He thinks I'm being a culturally insensitive racist liberal for not letting him help teach American customs. Who's being the a-hole here? Edit, by help teach her American etiquette, he meant that he wanted to tell her that Americans would find it rude if she slurped her food at a business lunch or such occasion, not that she had to stop doing it at home. He worked as a cultural consultant abroad, helping foreign business people secure deals with Americans by teaching them about customs and mannerisms and whatnot. So I genuinely believe that Jeff thought he was doing her a favor by letting her know that others might be turned off by slurping. But I still think that 1, it's not his place to give such information unsolicited, and 2, the minute you point out that Americans find slurping rude, she's going to feel self-conscious and judged about doing it at home, even if Jeff says it doesn't bother him. Yeah, I've got to agree, I think OP is not the a-hole in this situation. I think she was just trying to stop a very awkward interaction going on between the two. I personally would be very embarrassed if I was that person slurping the noodles, like, just leave me alone, I'll figure it out one day. It's kind of rude to just put it on them like that when they're minding their own business. But I guess everyone's different. You want to learn in your own time. People want to help you out before you embarrass yourself. But most people learn the hard way, and that's kind of just life. So in my opinion, OP is not the a-hole. They were just trying to de-escalate a situation that never should have started in the first place. You are not the a-hole for being compassionate and respectful and a decent human. Your boyfriend is the complete a-hole. You hit it square on the head. They pay for that space and can eat as they please. Who gives a frick about American? America is literally a land of immigrants. I think you did the right thing, and your boyfriend is the racist and culturally insensitive a-hole. Obviously, other things are bothering him, and he chose to take it out on a roommate. Never okay. Do not apologize for being decent. I think it's an a-hole move to come into someone's house and tell them that Americans will find her slurping rude. She wasn't asking for an opinion, she was just eating by herself. You were right, he was wrong. It is an a-hole move to come into someone's home and tell them they are rude. I mean, it's your own house. I think you're allowed to eat how you want in the privacy of your own home. Jeff sounds insufferable. He's a guest in her house, and he's lecturing her on manners? Ick. Not the a-hole for attempting to shut that down. Is this how he acts all of the time? Not that it matters, but it doesn't seem like he's a guest. They are all roommates. Oh my god, they were roommates. Jesus. The thing is, you would think that given his job, he would be more sensitive, as he would be explaining the customs to other cultures in a polite, non-patronizing manner. The fact that he can be so rude and unaware makes me question if he's actually good at his job. Side note, this is the kind of behavior that entitled people have, which I hate. The fact that he thinks he's so up there that he can educate a poor Chinese lady who is stupidly unaware of how rude she is, etc., is kind of disgusting. It feels like he's treating her and her culture as uncivilized or something. Posted by user NYC Trip Mum Throwaway, titled, "Am I the a-hole for not allowing my daughter to go on an 8th grade school trip?" This happened 3 years ago, and my daughter Mallory still resents us for this. I'm asking now because my son is going to be starting the 8th grade next school year, permitting that schools will reopen again and this event isn't cancelled. At my kid's school, there is a big annual spring break trip to New York City and Washington, D.C. It's something that most of the kids, including my own, were looking forward to. When Mallory started the 6th grade, she talked about wanting to go on the trip. We said she could, so long as she got good grades and didn't get into trouble. When she was in the 7th grade, her aunt Linda got engaged and set her wedding date for the following year. This is going to include a big family reunion with all the relatives because Linda was the last of my siblings to get married. Big fat Catholic family, many of whom we haven't seen in years. Unfortunately, Linda planned her wedding to take place the same week as Mallory's 8th grade spring break. We ended having to tell Mallory that she couldn't go on the trip after all, because everyone was going to be going to the wedding instead. Like I said, this was going to include a family reunion, and it may be the last time we got to see some relatives, including her great-grandparents, for a long time. Mallory was heartbroken. We offered to take a family trip to New York, but she turned it down because she wanted to go with friends and not family, which is understandable. Cue to the week of the wedding a year later. We flew out to New Mexico for the ceremony and crash at my sister's, not the bride's house. Mallory is still upset about having to be in New Mexico when all of her friends are in New York. A few days before the ceremony was to take place, Linda called off the wedding. Mallory was furious. I can still remember her blow-up. She screamed, "So I missed my trip for nothing?" and stormed off into the room she was sharing with her cousins and wouldn't let anyone in. It was a mess afterward. I tried to cheer Mallory up by offering to take her sightseeing or go see a movie with her cousins, but she refused. I gave up after she refused to go to the movies with us, saying that she didn't want to watch a dumb kids movie with a bunch of babies. While she is the oldest of the cousins, the next nearest cousin in age was 9 at the time. Mallory refused to speak to us during the flight back, and to this day she's still angry at her aunt Linda. I know Mallory was upset, but no one could have predicted that the wedding would be called off. We've tried to make it up to her, but she has refused every offer. I know she wants a trip with her friends, but that New York trip is expensive, and many of her friends' parents were not willing to spend more money on another outing for the girls. Because of this, Mallory thinks I am an a-hole. Am I? You're the a-hole. Not only did you know she wanted to go on this trip for years, but you agreed to it and then pulled the carpet out from under her feet. I'm sure something could have been arranged with other parents if you would be unable to pick her up and drop her off due to you leaving for this wedding. Adding to this that she was more likely to see her family members again than to get another chance for a trip like this. So that wasn't a good excuse to not let her go either. Should have just let the kid choose herself. You're the a-hole from me too. Right? Like, maybe at her own wedding, and even if she wouldn't have invited all the people who were at that wedding, or they'd die before then, and that was honestly the last time they would have ever seen them, then how close was she to them? Compared to her friends? I've gone to funerals to relatives I've literally never met before. If I had to miss out on something important to me only because this might be the last time you see them, then I would be ticked too. Like, yes, they're family, but other than very distant blood, to the point that they're not even related to me anymore, there is nothing that ties us together. I've gone to funerals of relatives I've literally never met before. Isn't that such a surreal experience? My grandfather on my mum's side was like this. He and my grandma divorced long before I was born, and I saw him maybe once or twice a year until I was maybe 7. A total of less than 10 times, I expect. Didn't see him again until I was maybe 12 at my aunt's wedding. I didn't even recognize him. Another 8 to 10 years later, I'm at his funeral. A man I hadn't seen in possibly a decade and couldn't even remember what he looked like. I have to actively stop to think to remember his name. My younger brother probably met him less than 4 times before the funeral. After the ceremony, I stood at the front of the room between my mum and sister with a line of people coming by giving me their condolences. Each one of these individuals had probably spent exponentially more time with that man than I had. It was so odd. It gave me this weird out-of-body experience. I wouldn't have gone if not to be there for my mum and auntie, whom I actually have relationships with. You're the a-hole. Kids that age don't have a lot of interest in family events like weddings. The trip she missed was a once-in-a-lifetime coming-of-age event. There is no making up for that. Would anyone have really missed her at the wedding? She wasn't the bride or any other integral part of the wedding. Crap. My high school had a year 8 trip as well. The trip may sound pretty bad, but it involved a lot of activities that were just not available in my small hometown. The problem? Well, the school screwed up royally. 150 students in my year level, no different to any other year level, but they had decided to drastically cut back on the capacity for the trip. 100 students were selected to go. I was one of those who missed out. Still a bit ticked off about that, because those that went came back closer, and those that were left out, well, we were left out of everything from that point on. Same here. My class was the largest, and they picked who went. I wasn't selected, which really sucked when both my older and younger siblings got to go on this school trip. It's been probably 20 years, and I'm still mad at the school for doing this. Posted by user ThrowRA Help Is Needed, titled, Am I the a-hole for asking my daughter to take her siblings along and being mad that she didn't take care of him? A few days ago, my daughter, 17 female, was going on an outing to a coffee shop, wouldn't tell me what shop, and I asked her to take her brother, 9 male, and she said no. Also, this is allowed, and started complaining about how a 9-year-old ain't gonna fit in a crowd of 17 to 18-year-olds. I just told her to watch him, and she said that I can do that just fine. My 9-year-old is very active, never sleeps, and he's a little annoying. I needed a break that day, just for an hour or two. My daughter started arguing with me, and in the end, when I threatened to ground her, only then did she leave. She came back 2 hours later, and there was a French coffee in her hands, and this Oreo blizzard in my son's. My son gets even more active after eating sugar, and doesn't even sleep. I yelled at her and said that she wasn't supposed to get him anything, and she said that he wouldn't stop whining and that he's been eating fruits for the past week, so he deserved a drink, and he's not gonna die. I'm sure she did it to spite me. I didn't ground her or anything, just sent her to her room, and my son is sad that I took his drink away. I don't want my son to have cavities, he already has a sweet tooth. Am I the a-hole? Yes, you're an a-hole. He's been eating fruit this whole time. 1 or 2 sweet treats a week isn't gonna give him cavities if you're already giving him so much sugar in the form of fruits anyway. I think you're an a-hole for being so hard on the both of them, and I think you need to take a chill pill, OP. You're the a-hole. Why would you send a 9-year-old to a coffee place to hang out with 17-year-olds? She shouldn't have taken him along in the first place, and that's not an age group where he would fit in. And then got mad that he got something? She wants him to go to a shop where everyone else was getting something and have nothing for himself. She was being the a-hole to both of her kids. OP should be grateful the daughter didn't load him up with some espresso. You're the a-hole. Agreed. OP cared more about free babysitting and a break than anything else, including the daughter's feelings. You're the a-hole. You're the parent, not her. And she's right. It's weird to have a 9-year-old around a group of 17 to 18-year-old teens. Parenting is your job, not hers. I offloaded parenting to my teenage daughter and then punished her and my younger kid because I didn't like how she parented. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. If you really wanted a break from your annoying and active 9-year-old, tell him to go outside and play in the backyard. Your daughter is 17 and was hanging out with people her age. Why even threaten to ground her just because you want a little break? Tough crap. Or she could have gotten a babysitter. That's literally what they're for. Or even asked her daughter to babysit, paid, when the daughter wasn't already busy with plans of her own. So she basically bullies the daughter into including the 9-year-old on a teen hangout, then freaks out when the daughter gets the kid the age-appropriate version of whatever drink she's having herself. The idea is, get him away from me, but don't let him enjoy himself. This post belongs on r/choosingbeggars. Alright, and I think that's where we're going to leave today's episode, guys. I really do hope you enjoyed the content today. If you guys loved watching it as much as I loved making it, I would love for you to subscribe to the channel already if you haven't. Tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below, maybe like the video, who knows. I'd also like to take this time to thank my awesome Patreon and channel members. Without you guys, I don't know what I'd do. I'd probably be homeless on the streets of Ireland, crying Irish dancing all over town. It would just be a mess. But no, for real, you guys are up on the screen now. Thank each and every one of you guys. And if you personally want to join the club yourself, there are links down in the description below. There's also the join button next to the subscribe button. Small monthly fee, but hey, it goes a long way to help me create more awesome content. Well, with that said, guys, I hope you do have a lovely day, night, sleep, evening, day at work, day at school, whatever you're up to. I hope you keep awesome today. You're looking amazing, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.